Please brace for impact.
This announcement echoed through the cabin of U.S. Airways Flight 1549, signaling that what had been a routine journey was about to become anything but ordinary. Everyone on board turned their eyes to the windows, trying to grasp the reality unfolding outside. Below, the cold waters of the Hudson River patiently awaited. The pilot's voice was calm, but every word carried the weight of life and death. This was the beginning of a story suspended between heroism and chaos, racing against time. At 3:24 p.m., an Airbus A320 took off from New York's LaGuardia Airport, bound for Charlotte. Aboard were 150 passengers and 5 crew members, buckled in, some reading, others gazing out the window. Captain Chesley, Sully, Sullenberger, and First Officer Jeff Skiles were at the controls. Just minutes after takeoff, the flight's fate would change dramatically as a flock of birds appeared on the horizon. Moments later, a passenger sitting in seat 16A heard a sudden bang. The smell of burning filled the cabin, and worried passengers on the left side turned toward the right engine, asking anxious questions. Both engines had failed. Silence fell, a silence not of the engines, but the silence of seconds hanging between life and death. They were no longer flying through the sky, they were suspended in time. In the cockpit, split-second decisions were made. Returning to LaGuardia? Impossible. Diverting to Teterboro. Not enough altitude. The pilot's eyes scanned the map quickly. One option was clear: the Hudson River. Captain Sullenberger drew on decades of training and experience to make one decision. He would land the plane on the water. It was a decision born of courage and cold logic. The plane glided through the buildings of Manhattan, approaching the Hudson River. Passengers watched their fate unfold, some praying, others frozen in disbelief. At 3:30 p.m., the A320's tail touched the water first, followed by the nose gently dipping. The plane slid across the surface as water splashed against the windows. In those moments, everyone felt the same thing. They were alive. Once stopped, the doors opened and passengers moved toward the wings and life vests. But another threat awaited: the cold. Mid-January waters of the Hudson were freezing enough to cause hypothermia within minutes. Yet the heart of New York sprang into action. Ferries, Coast Guard boats, and helicopters arrived swiftly. All 155 people aboard were rescued. U.S. Airways Flight 1549 wasn't just a flight. It was a moment when leadership, instinct, and human resilience were pushed to the limit. Captain Sullenberger was the last to leave the aircraft, only after confirming all passengers were safe. That day, not just a plane landed in the Hudson. Hope, courage, and human dignity landed with it.